Now, I wanted to get into talking about the Yankees a little bit, actually, here. So, Aaron Boone was making his ways around New York sports radio talking with the afternoon drive shows. Well, the midday show on ESPN, I guess you would call it, and then the afternoon drive show on the Fan. Brian Cashman also talked with the media as well. Talking about this team going into this year. Cashman saying, he feels well. Both guys really feel good about this team. Cashman, you know, talked about challenging anybody that would say that this is not a championship caliber team. And, the media asks questions about, how the Yankees are being labeled as a team that's just purely running it back. And for me, look, I don't like when I go on Twitter and I just see Yankee fans acting like the sky is falling all the time. Because you see what's in the background. We talk about this all the time. You see what's in the background. The sky to me is not falling. And people saying Brian Cashman is terrible at his job and Boone's a terrible manager. Look, I don't believe any of those. I don't believe either of those statements. I don't. I've come to the point where I think that they both get dragged through the mud. I don't think Brian Cashman is a terrible general manager. I don't think Boone is a terrible manager. I think there are times when Boone makes mistakes, and really the main mistakes is when with the bullpen. And, at times where, you're starting and sitting guys when, guys have had good games and then all of a sudden they're not in the lineup the next day. That's where there's some discussions that need to be had and debates. But I think for the most part, you look at what Boone has done since he's taken over as manager. They really only had one bad year, and it was when the roster wasn't very good. That was 2023. Now, I think Boone does deserve some blame when the team is struggling and it doesn't seem like they're going to get out of it, like we've seen the last couple of years where you get to the summer and they all of a sudden hit the skids and it doesn't look like they're ever going to get out of it. But then they find a way to rebound and they make the playoffs. They made the World Series a couple years ago. And yeah, the Blue Jays, they steamrolled them. I've been saying steamrolled a lot. I've been saying that a lot last season. But the Yankees, look, they won 94 games. They made a lot of acquisitions at the deadline, and most of those acquisitions are going to be playing roles on this team coming up. I think the Yankees are a good team. And I think the Yankees should feel good about this team going into the season. Now, the running it back, because everyone's saying, well, they're running back a team that won 94 games and got blown out by the Blue Jays in the division series. Now, I kind of tend to side more with Cashman and Boone and a certain group of Yankee fans who would make the argument, well, they're kind of not running it back. Because when we started last year, you had guys like Carlos Carrasco and Marcus Stroman in the rotation. Devin Williams as the closer was not great, and he blew a lot of games. You also, didn't have the guys that you acquired at the deadline on the team to start the year. You didn't have Cam Schlittler. You brought up Cam Schlittler later in the year. You're now going to have him for a full season. So, and you also didn't have Giancarlo Stanton to start the year last year. He will now be, hopefully, starting the year healthy. So, I do agree with that. Now, I would have liked to have seen the Yankees do a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen them be in on the Bo Bichette sweepstakes because I think Bichette would add another dynamic to this team that they're kind of missing still. But that's not the case. I am comfortable going into the season for the most part with the team that they have now. I've been saying it over and over again. I think they will figure the bullpen out. I believe the bullpen will be better than what it was last year. I look at last year as an aberration with the bullpen. Now, if it happens again, well, then throw that out the window. I think the bullpen will be better. Some guys are going to have to prove themselves, but you got David Bednar, who I think is a very good closer. Doval showed you something towards the end of last year, because he was a little rocky to start his Yankee career. They really believe in Jake Bird. They had to send him down to the minors, but they think he's straightened stuff out, so hopefully that's the case. They brought back Tim Hill. There's still some other guys that are going to have to prove themselves. I know they made a trade with the Rockies, and they think they can work with that. Another project. And then also the starting pitching. I think the starting pitching, if it gets healthy, it's going to be very good. Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler, Luis Heel as your 5 starters. And then you got Will Warren, who could go into the bullpen. And then maybe Clark Schmidt comes back. They have a ton of starting pitching depth. I didn't even mention Ryan Yarbrough, who was good for them last year. He's going to be another guy that can come out of the bullpen and be another lefty. They also brought back Paul Blackburn as well. I know, it's not a sexy move, but again, it's for depth. They have a ton of starting pitching depth. And then on top of that, you got some of the guys in the minors that we could see brought up. So I think pitching, they'll be fine. Like, they got to get guys back healthy, like Cole, Rodon, Schmidt over the summer, but they're going to get Cole and Rodon back, within the first couple months of the season. Really, for me, the biggest thing is the lineup. But you look at the lineup. The lineup is pretty good. Grisham, is he going to be able to replicate what he did last year? Who knows? I think Ben Rice will have a big year. Judge is going to be Judge, but for how much longer? Hopefully, we don't have to worry about that anytime soon. But, he's in his mid-30s now. He's approaching that. Cody Bellinger. I think Bellinger's going to be good. Jazz should have a big year if he's healthy. Really, for me, I look at the left side of the infield and catcher. What kind of production are we going to get out of those spots? Because McMahon was not great with the bat, was great with the glove. Could he be a little bit better with the bat? I hope so. Shortstop, it's going to be Jose Caballero to start the year. And I thought Caballero, had a little bit of pop with his bat when the Yankees traded for him. So we'll see about that. And I thought Austin Wells was going to have this big year, and he didn't have it. He was not very good. So Yankees need more production out of those spots. And hopefully Grisham can continue what he did last year, at least for this 1 year, because this is probably going to be it for him as a Yankee. Definitely going to be it for him as a Yankee. And then also you got Dominguez. What kind of role is Dominguez going to play? It doesn't seem like the Yankees are going to move them. We talked about this. I don't think they should trade Dominguez or Spencer Jones unless they're really getting an impactful player, whether it's a pitcher or someone they add to the lineup. Because, again, Grisham's going to be here for only 1 year, and then he's going to be gone. So then that's going to open up a spot. And Dominguez is still very young. I hope Dominguez can continue to develop and really blossom into the player that we all expect him to be, because it's there. If he could become that switch hitter, if he could be just an average fielder, the Yankees got themselves a good player. And we know he's a good base runner. Well, he did get thrown out on the base paths last year. I know there was that incident in Boston, but he's got the speed. And he's a good left-handed hitter. But if he can develop from the right side and he could be a good fielder, average fielder, he's a good player. So I don't want to give up on him yet. I don't. And also Austin Wells, last year was really his first full year as the full-time catcher, because the previous year was between him and Trevino, and then he kind of took over. Now this is going to be year 2. Now when it comes to Volpe, I'm down on Anthony Volpe, as many of us are. I hope he proves us wrong and comes back and he lights it up. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. But the Yankees have full confidence in him. They're going to continue to have full confidence in him, and they expect him to come back and be productive. So we'll see if they end up being right, and if they end up being right, good for them. Good for them, because then that shows that you just got to continue to be patient with some guys. So, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to Cashman and Boone again, it's a tough job. It's a tough job. And I knew, and Boone kind of pushed back on the notion that they're kind of content with just winning. Just having good years. They don't really care if they don't make it to the World Series and win it or not. And Boone said, "Well, that's the case, then I wouldn't be doing this. He does want to win. They both want to win. It's just the Dodgers have kind of set this bar now where it's like you got to spend to try to keep up with them. Because now it's like, I mean, now they got Kyle Tucker, they got Edwin Diaz. Oh, man, they got all these guys. I mean, how are we... But also, too, I mean, the bigger thing is a lot of fans look at the Yankees and say, you got all these championships, and it's been a long time. The mission statement is championship or bust, and they haven't won a championship in a while. Now, for me, my expectations are, look, it has been a while. I would like to see them win a ring. But to me, that does not mean you have to win a ring every single year. No. Now, that was my mindset, 7 years ago. Now it's just get back and get one. And then we'll go from there. Because to me, there needs to be an urgency to win a championship in this window. Because you have arguably one of the greatest players of all time on your team right now, in his prime. Might be leaving his prime soon. And if you are not able to win a championship with that player, that to me is a failure. And that will be held against them for years to come if they are not able to win a ring with Aaron Judge in this window. This Yankees team is good, and if they have to improve this team, they will make trades at the deadline like they did last year, and they made a ton of trades at the deadline last year. To me, gotta win a ring with Judge. And I think with this pitching staff in a better spot, and the offense was good last year. It's just you get to the playoffs and all of a sudden they don't hit. That's because you're going up against good pitching. Something's got to change. But I do think this Yankees team is going to be good. Once we get closer to the regular season, I'll make predictions on, division winners, playoff teams, World Series prediction. But the Yankees will be in the playoffs. They will be. And if they're not, well, that's a problem. That will, Yankee fans are going to lose their minds if that's the case. But if guys are healthy, I think, well, if Judge gets hurt, then you could forget it. But as long as Judge stays healthy the whole year, Yankees are going to be fine. They'll make the playoffs. Now it's all about taking that next step and getting back to a World Series. But I think for all of us, we kind of know what's going to happen this year. It might be, rinse and repeat from the last couple of years. Only time will tell. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Yankees, what Cashman and Boone both had to say. Look, again, this is a good Yankee team. They're better than how they started out last year. I expect them to win their 90-plus games and make the playoffs, but it's really what you do in the playoffs is what's going to truly define you. So, but as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video, to the channel. Make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports, and you'll find us there. And as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.